some townships and villages in Chama parliamentary constituency, and the member was asking a follow-up question seeking clarity from the Vice President. In this case, it is the acting leader of government business, who happens to be the Minister of Finance, Dr. Stombeko.
And still to come, we have a motion expected to be moved by Wengwa Member of Parliament, Mr. Kasauta Michelo, in which he urges the House to adopt a report of the Committee on Agriculture, Lands and Natural Resources on the Treaty of the Southern Africa Science Service Center for Climate Change and Adaptive Land Management for the 4th session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Monday, 11th November 2024.
In few seconds' time, the business resumes, and still to come, we have the resumption of the report of the Zambian delegation to the 149th Interparliamentary Union. Cross over to the floor of the House.
Well, bells are ringing, signifying that a quorum is yet to be formed, and it is a requirement that 1/3 of the House has to be present in order for business of the House to continue. In this House, the bells will continue ringing until a quorum has been formed.
So still to come is the report of the Zambian delegation to the 149th Interparliamentary Union Assembly and related meetings held in Geneva, Switzerland from 13th to 17th October 2024. This is the motion of 15th November 2024.
Yes, and earlier on when the business resumed, there were some announcements and also a ruling by the Honorable Madam Speaker, and the ruling was on a point of order raised on Tuesday, 15th October 2024 by Dr. Clement Andeleki, Member of Parliament for Katombola constituency, on the status of Mr. J.E. Banda, Member of Parliament for Petauke Central constituency, following his absence from the House after his disappearance from Chipata Central Hospital.
Two ministerial statements were presented on the floor of the House. The first one came from the Minister of Agriculture, and in this case it was the Acting Minister of Agriculture. This is Honorable Peter Kapala, who rendered this ministerial statement on the delayed distribution of farming inputs for the 2024-2025 farming season. And we did see quite a number of members of Parliament seeking clarity from the Minister by posing follow-up questions.
And possibly we also had some announcements regarding the visitors to the National Assembly. And the first one, we had an announcement by the Honorable Madam Speaker, in which recognized the presence in the public gallery of pupils and teachers from Aurora Christian Academy in Lusaka District. She also recognized the presence in the public gallery of pupils and teachers from Jembo Secondary School in Pemba District, and she welcomed the visitors to the National Assembly.
We had a delegation from the Republic of Tanzania, in this case from the Parliament of Tanzania, and Madam Speaker did recognize the presence of this delegation, Ms. Lili Mrava, Director of ICT and Leader of the Officer, Mr. Julius Demo Officer, and Mr. Lukido Choholo, Protocol Officer. And Madam Speaker did warmly welcome visitors to the National Assembly of Zambia.
Madam Speaker also announced to the House that the debate on the motion of supply will be concluded tomorrow, Wednesday, 20 November 2024, and thereafter the House will resolve into the Committee of Supply to consider individual heads of expenditure. And considering that all heads of expenditure will be concluded within 5 days as provided by the Standing Order 171-9. We cross back to the floor of the House. Good afternoon.
When business was suspended, the House was considering question number 129 on the order paper, asked by the Honorable Member for Chama North, and the Honorable Member was asking a supplementary question. May the Honorable Member continue?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Before we went for tea break, I was asking a follow-up question to the acting leader of government business that this storm actually caused a lot of devastating effects on Makeni, Chimwemwe townships and also Chizimba village. And because of this heavy downpour, people even lost their food. Now, if you look at the list which the acting leader of government business has highlighted, there is no any provision for meal or not even maize. There is nothing when these people completely lost all their food apart from beans, salt. Why has the government not provided the maize or meal to these affected households? I submit.
The acting leader of government business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I said, the assessment of the disaster was made by the local office. Local office means from the district. Those are the ones who made the assessment. Those are the ones who also made the recommendations. Based on what they saw, what kind of interventions they requested from the central government. So I'm not sure why the honorable member did not engage the local office, look at what they are proposing, and therefore make those recommendations. But as of now, the central government acted on the basis of the recommendations from the districts. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chasefu.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. Acting leader of business, riding on what my brother from Chama North has indicated, that this storm not only affected houses, it also affected public facilities such as schools, and if you note, Mr. Speaker, this rain has come very violent and it's causing a lot of damage, especially to all the infrastructure that were made of mud and brick. And unfortunately, these are most of them schools and health facilities. Before the enhanced CDF, which is bringing proper structures, we have structures which are made of mud and brick. And it has not only happened in Chama North, it has happened even in Chasefu. The same day we are having these things. The damage is all over, assessments are being done. Now, the question is, especially that the disaster component of the CDF has been depleted in most of these constituencies. And we have money that are being mopped because they're not being utilized, because certain areas, the court issues, these monies are sitting in our accounts and they will not be utilized. Would you consider allowing constituencies like Chama North or Chasefu or any other to utilize this money that is being held up on the legal issues or any other issues, to use them for disaster arrangement, to roof up these infrastructure that are being done, so that come 2025, when these matters are resolved, we can replace the monies? Would you consider that approach? Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
The acting leader of government business.
Absolutely correct, Honorable Nyambose. I also want to say that we all have had disasters in our constituencies, including the person who is speaking here. About 2 months ago, we've all had disasters. What did we do? Given the scale, because disasters come in different scales, there is a scale that the district, the constituency cannot handle, like perhaps a bridge across a major stream or something like that. But for classrooms and other similar small infrastructure, what we did in our constituency was to take a look at our components in the CDF, that component for disasters. That's the money that we utilize to repair the damage that had been done to blown up classrooms. As we speak now, it has happened. So in a similar fashion, there's nothing to stop the constituency, Chama North, to utilize that emergency portion. If that emergency portion of the budget for CDF in Chama has been exhausted, there's nothing for you that stops you to make a variations to say we should have done this project here and there, but because we have an emergency, we are going to ask for a variation, and that variation can be undertaken from the provincial office. Does not even need to come to the Minister of Local Government or to me. This is something that you can decide yourselves so that you repair the infrastructure that is now exposed to those emergencies. Honorable, through Mr. Speaker, this is something that is 100% within your capacity to do so that you solve that problem. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
The Honourable Member for Matero. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and Honourable Minister, Acting Leader of Government Business, effectively Acting Vice President and Substantive Minister of Finance. Honourable Minister, it's the first time I'm asking a question to you since you presented the budget. I'd like to congratulate you for the good budget for 2024. And I look forward on 1st January, it takes effect so that you start paying all that government owes, the companies, individuals, because government should meet its debts when they fall due. Mr. Speaker, the question from the Member of Parliament for Chama North on rainfall. The last time I stood here, I asked that this country should pray for the rain, and prayer was held. We did not get the rain, we got a downpour countrywide, and hence this question that has brought up destruction of houses in Chama. My question is, Honourable Minister, Honourable Acting Leader of Government Business, with heavy rains, this country will show comes diseases, comes cholera. Last year lives were lost, and the year before lives were lost. So as much as we ask for this rainfall in Chama and elsewhere around the country, even in Lusaka, what measures is this government putting in place to mitigate the risk of cholera so that we don't lose lives? Are we going to be reactive when people start dying, and that's when we move in? So what measures are being put in place in Chama to ensure that the heavy downpour does not bring cholera, not only in Chama, but in Lusaka and elsewhere in the country? I thank you.
The Acting Leader of Government Business.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think this is really a question that extends or stretches what we are discussing now. What we are discussing now is the infrastructure that has been destroyed in Chama and what government is doing about it. The issue of the cholera Yes, it is very important, but I think it is outside the scope of the question that we are dealing with. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
As to apply for this money, and usually the money is taking long to come to the constituency. How are you going to help the people of Chama and other constituencies in case of any future calamities to have this money be present at the constituency so as calamities occur, they can attend to them immediately? Thank you.
The acting leader of government business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Member for Chama, if you face that problem, please send me a note even this evening so that I can help to push the money quickly under your budget so that you can attend to the measures. Thank you.
Thank you. Notice of motion, the Honorable Member for Wengwa.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Agricultural Lands and Natural Resources on the ratification of the Treaty of the Southern African Science Service Center for Climate Change and Adaptive Land Management for the third session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on 11th of November 2024.
Is the motion seconded?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Seconded by the Honorable Member for which constituency? Mfue. The question is that this House adopts a report of the Committee on Agriculture, Lands and Natural Resources on the Treaty of the Southern African Science Service Center for the Climate Change and Adaptive Land Management for the fourth session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Monday, 11th November 2024. Any debate? The Honorable Member for Wengwa.
Mr. Speaker, in accordance with its terms and reference, as set out under Standing Orders 206A and 207F of the National Assembly of Zambia, Standing Orders 2024, the committee considered the Treaty of the Southern African Science Service Center for Climate Change and Adaptive Land Management, SASSCAL. In order to appreciate the ramifications of ratifying the treaty, the committee interacted with stakeholders who tendered both written and oral submissions before it. Mr. Speaker, as the House may be aware, the treaty was adopted by the SASSCAL Council of Ministers on 26 September 2021. Mr. Speaker, the objective of SASSCAL is to strengthen the regional capacity to generate and use scientific knowledge, products and service for decision-making on climate change and adaptive land management through research management, human capital development, and service brokerage. Mr. Speaker, the ratification of the SASSCAL Treaty is therefore driven by the need to address the change and land degradation through regional cooperation, scientific research, capacity building, and sustainable practices. Mr. Speaker, let me state from the outset that the stakeholders who appeared before the committee were in support of Zambia ratifying the SASSCAL Treaty. The committee is also in support of the proposal to ratify the treaty, and in doing so, it has made some observations and recommendations which are documented in the report. However, allow me to highlight some of these observations and recommendations. Mr. Speaker, the committee observed that Zambia was able to make its annual contributions to SASSCAL from 2017 to 2020. However, since 2020, Zambia has not honored its obligations. This has resulted in the arrears accumulating to 1.3 million euros. The committee contends that this is a serious matter which, if not addressed urgently, has the potential to result in penalties which have serious consequences to the country. In this regard, Mr. Speaker, the committee strongly urges the executive to consider settling the arrears of 1.3 million without any further delay. The committee further urges the executive to ensure that funds are provided for in the national budget for honoring financial commitments and effective implementation of the treaty. Mr. Speaker, the committee also observes that SASSCAL aims at, among other things, generating scientific knowledge and supporting national, regional, and global efforts in strengthening adaptation and mitigation strategies. The committee further observed that SASSCAL's research priority areas include climate change, food security, water security, sustainable forest and woodlands, and biodiversity conservation. In light of this, the committee recommends that the government ministers, under whose purview the aims and priority areas of SASSCAL fall, should develop and implement mechanisms that support the cause of SASSCAL. These ministries are documented in the report. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, in order for the treaty to be implemented effectively by the concerned ministries, the committee recommends that the government should allocate sufficient funds for the implementation and monitoring of the treaty. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, allow me sincerely to thank you and the Office of the Clerk of the National Assembly for the guidance and support rendered to the committee throughout its deliberations. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move.
Does the seconder wish to speak now?
No, Mr. Speaker.
The question, seconded by the Honourable Member from Fue. The question is that this House adopts a report of the Committee on Agriculture, Lands and Natural Resources on the Treaty of the Southern Africa Sun Service Center for Climate Change and Adaptive Land Management for the 14th session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Monday, 11th November 2024. Any debate? The Honourable Member from Fue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving the people of Mfue an opportunity to second this motion. And Mr. Speaker, I beg to second that this House to adopt the report of the Committee on Agriculture, Lands and Natural Resources on the ratification of the Treaty of the Southern African Science Service Center for Climate Change and Adaptive Land Management. Mr. Speaker, in seconding this motion, allow me to make a few comments. Mr. Speaker, the Treaty of the Southern African Science Service Center for Climate Change and Adaptive Land Management, SASSCAL, aims to generate scientific knowledge and support national, regional, and global efforts in strengthening adaptation and mitigation strategies. Sir, the research priority areas for SASSCAL includes climate change, food security, water security, sustainable forests and woods, and biodiversity conservation. Mr. Speaker, in order to strengthen the objectives of SASSCAL, it is critical that ministries that have activities related to what the treaty seeks to address take specific steps as follows. Number one, the Ministry of Green Economy should put in place mechanisms that will support generation of scientific knowledge to support and strengthen climate change objectives, especially in relation to drought prediction, disaster aversion, and overall climate change resilience measures in the country. In this regard, early warning systems must be heightened. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources should devise mechanisms that will strengthen adaptation technologies and mechanisms surrounding erosion management and desertification mitigation, as well as sustainable soil and land conservation techniques. The Ministry of Water and Development and Sanitation should devise mechanisms that will enhance water harvesting and conservation to promote water security. The Ministry of Agriculture should put in place measures that will enhance climate-smart agriculture practices and technologies. And Ministry of Technology and Science should present an overall value of the ministry and all the bodies and agencies that are under its portfolio. Finally, Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Education should provide the sector with valuable information that can be used to enhance knowledge across all levels at both vocational and technical education. Mr. Speaker, in order to ensure that SASSCAL treaty is effectively implemented by these ministries, there is need for the government to allocate sufficient funds for its implementation and for monitoring. Mr. Speaker, allow me also to take this opportunity to thank the mover of the motion, who is the chairperson for the Committee on Agriculture, Lands and Natural Resources, and all the members of the committee. Mr. Speaker, with these few comments, I beg to second.
Any further debate? The Honorable Member for Nyimba.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me just add a few words on this very important treaty. We all agree that the objective of SASSCAL was to strengthen the regional capacity to generate and to generate scientific knowledge, products, services for decision making on climate change, management through research, management, human capital development. Mr. Speaker, you agree with me that no country is an island, and as Zambia we need to cooperate with our colleagues within Southern Africa. Many of the times, Mr. Speaker, we are lagging behind as a country. Today, we are owing 1.3 euros to this very important treaty. And from 2020 to date, the Ministry of Finance have not managed to pay their obligations to SASSCAL. What is this SASSCAL? How is it important to us as a nation? Practically, Honorable Mtati, where he is seated there, you need to have extra information coming from our neighboring countries, how we are going to fight. He is in charge of the Ministry of Technology. And this is the area where each and every department, government department, wants to get the information. All the ZICTA issues, the Smart Zambia issues fall under his department. Now, if we are not getting information from our colleagues within the region, where are we going to get this information? This is, SASSCAL is something which is going to deal with different universities, different academias, people who understand, the people who are expert in terms of climate change, soil issues. So this we need to belong to, and we need to be updated every time. This is not money wasted, it's money invested for the betterment of our country. And my prayer, Mr. Speaker, is that this country should move in now and see to it that we pay our obligations. If I look at the Ministry of Water, the Ministry of Water should be in a position to understand the changing, the changes in dynamics in terms of how we're going to drill our water bores, how we're going to conserve our water. This is a country where we see floods as a case, where we see floods as a problem. Floods today, we should start harvesting water in different areas. Last year, Mr. Speaker, we had floods in Wengwa. How did we do? How did we deal with those floods? Did we harvest the water? Are we able to harvest the water? What technologies, what new ideas are there? On our own, we might not have the ideas to fulfill, or to manage, to harvest this water. But our colleagues within the region were able to assist us, the new techniques, the new technology in this in this area. Mr. Speaker, there are so many ministries, just like I agree with the Minister of, the Seconder, that if we look at the Ministry of Agriculture today, you need to put up measures which will enhance the smart agriculture. Today, if we've got areas where there is rain which is below 800 millimeters, what type of agriculture are we going to imply? We are going to, to use in these areas so that we can harvest something. If we've got areas where there is so much rains, what type of agriculture we are going to do? We should be looking at smart agriculture in every region of our country so that we get the best benefit from our peasant farmers as well as from our commercial farmers without engaging our friends across, in our region. Surely, Mr. Speaker, we are not going to achieve anything. We will lag behind as a nation. But it's simple. You don't contribute, you don't get information. If we talk of the Ministry of Education today, we need to train our kids from as young as grade 1 about smart agriculture. This is the only country, Mr. Speaker, in the world where English is compulsory and agriculture is option. And this is where I've got a problem. Today, we need, if you go to countries which have succeeded, either economically, in terms of, should I say, food security, technology, industrialization, these are the people who have respected agriculture. Today, we even discourage our own kids. You can't take agriculture. What are you going to benefit out of it? But we know that whether you're a minister of science and technology, you should have a garden at your home so that people can learn. Your kids will appreciate how it is important for us to have food at our homes. Whether you're a minister of sports, you need to know that it's important to have a farm. So if we are not going to train our kids today, if we are not going to impart our kids with proper knowledge from grade 1 to grade 12, what is it that we are doing? Mr. Speaker, and to the leader of government, I urge you, can we honor our obligation at SASSCAL? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Kanchibia.
Mr. Speaker, thank you so much for the opportunity. I want to thank the chairperson of the committee, as well as thank the seconder, the vice chairperson of the committee. Mr. Speaker, the benefits have been alluded to, and allow me to just raise what could be the demerits for us to warn ourselves against, even as we move towards ratification of SASSCAL. The Southern African Service Center for Climate Change and Adaptive Land Management. The first one, Mr. Speaker, is what the report brings out, 1.3 million euros. The financial burden that comes with ratification of SASSCAL. The challenge is that membership in SASSCAL may require and will require Zambia to contribute financially towards the center's operations. Now, the impact of this, Mr. Speaker, is that this could be a strain on our national budget, particularly when resources are stretched already by pressing local challenges such as poverty, education, and health. The second dimension I would want us to look at is an ethical distribution, benefit distribution. We know that the benefits from regional institutions like SASSCAL may not be distributed equally among member states, often favoring countries with stronger institutions and technical capacities. The impact on Zambia is that we might not fully benefit from the research, data or technologies developed if we lack the infrastructure to utilize the data being generated by SASSCAL. The risk of bureaucratic inefficiency, Mr. Speaker, becomes important for us to pay particular attention to when one goes through the report. Regional organizations sometimes suffer from slow decision-making and implementation due to conflicting interests among member states. The impact of this on our unique challenges and in battling with climate change and land management priorities is that ours could be overshadowed by broader regional agendas. Mr. Speaker, the fourth dimension would be for us to look at dependency on external expertise. Ratifying the agreement might make Zambia reliant on SASSCAL for climate and land management solutions. And rather than investing in local solutions or local research, as it is a fact, we pay and we place very little premiums on research as a country. When we look across our policies and we see how much we pay or we channel towards research, we know that we still don't place high premiums on research. What this could do, Mr. Speaker, is to undermine the growth of Zambia's own capacity to address climate and land management issues independently. I'd also want to talk about the misalignment with national priorities. Sometimes the projects with regional bodies such as SASSCAL, those prioritized might not always align with Zambia's specific climate and land management challenges. This could lead to a mismatch of resources.
Honourable Member, your time is up.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Minister for Technology and Science will respond on behalf of government.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to commend and thank the chairperson of the Committee on Agriculture, Lands and Natural Resources for their thorough work on this important report. I also extend my gratitude to the honourable members of this House for their invaluable contribution during this debate. Mr. Speaker, my ministry fully supports the ratification of the SASSCAL Treaty as it aligns with our national development agenda as espoused in the key pillars of the 8th National Development Plan, which spells out commitment to addressing the pressing challenges posed by climate change. Mr. Speaker, climate change has shown that it is linked to the challenges ranging from water and sanitation, health and nutrition, poverty and inequality, and human and social development in general. Mr. Speaker, as noted by the committee, the reality of global climate change continues to threaten livelihoods and ecosystems. Southern Africa, including Zambia, faces acute vulnerabilities from climate-induced disasters such as droughts and floods, which disrupts agricultural productivity and strain water resources. Mr. Speaker, these challenges demand collective regional action and robust scientific research to boost our adaptive capacities. Mr. Speaker, the Southern African Science Service Center for Climate Change and Adaptive Land Management Treaty, SASSCAL, offers an indispensable platform and opportunity to address these challenges through science-driven solutions and regional collaboration. Mr. Speaker, SASSCAL helps member states, including Zambia, transition from reliance on important scientific approaches to localize tailored strategies as recommended by the committee that target efforts to deal with climate change will be driven by the relevant ministries to support the SASSCAL goals. We want to be part of the larger solution approach to enhancing climate-smart agriculture, improving water harvesting techniques, mitigation, deforestation, and strengthening early warning systems for climate-related disasters. Mr. Speaker, as already pointed out, ratifying the SASSCAL Treaty will unlock numerous benefits for Zambia, enhancing our ability to respond effectively to climate change. Some of the key sectors that will benefit include: 1. Agriculture. Improved data and climate resilient techniques will enhance productivity and food security. 2. Water resource. 2. Water levels increase such as Lake Kariba will secure hydraulic and agricultural needs. 3. Forestry and biodiversity. Strengthen monitoring systems for our ecosystems. On renewable energy. Projects such as H2M, Atlas Africa, Mr. Speaker, Zambia has already benefited significantly from SASSCAL initiatives. Investments exceeding 3.9 million euros have been mobilized for our scientific infrastructure, including 19 automatic weather stations, 2 research laboratories, and 3 tools like the biometric survey board at the University of Zambia for measuring water volumes. These resources have supported key programs which focus on integrated research in water, agriculture, and biodiversity. Mr. Speaker, additionally, human capital development is the cornerstone of SASSCAL. 36 Zambian students have advanced their studies at bachelor's, master's, and PhD levels, contributing to a cadre of climate-resilient professionals. Mr. Speaker, while Zambia has faced challenges in meeting its annual subscription to SASSCAL, the government is committed to clearing this obligation. We recognize the immense benefits of SASSCAL membership, which far outweigh the financial obligations. Ratifying the SASSCAL Treaty is a strategic step towards empowering Zambia to combat climate change through research, collaboration, and innovation. It will enhance our adaptive capabilities, strengthen our economy, and secure a sustainable future for all Zambians. I therefore urge this House to adopt the committee's report, the ratification of the SASSCAL Treaty. Together we can ensure that Zambia remains a proactive and collaborative player in regional and global climate change resilience efforts. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move.
The Acting Minister of Green Economy will also respond.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for your according me this opportunity to debate on the adoption of the report of the Committee on Agriculture, Lands and Natural Resources on the ratification of the Treaty, Southern Africa Science Service Center for Climate Change and Adaptive Land Management, SASSCAL. Mr. Speaker, I want to take this opportunity to thank the Committee on the Agriculture, Lands and Natural Resources on the immense work put in this session of the National Assembly under review. Mr. Speaker, all the committee's concerns are well noted by my ministry. The government, through the Ministry of Green Economy and Environment, will address the concerns that were raised on the ratification of the Southern African Science Service Center for Climate Change and Adaptive Land Management by the committee. The ministry is engaged, Mr. Speaker, in international research initiatives and climate science platforms such as the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, and the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC, to ensure that the national research is aligned with global best practices and findings. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry has created formal collaborations with universities, research centers, and think tanks focused on climate change and sustainability, and established joint research programs and initiatives that align with national climate action goals. For example, SASSCAL has planned to establish a graduate school or graduate schools in its member states to contribute to the knowledge-based society. In the case of Zambia, the plan is to establish a graduate school in the forestry and woodlands management. The ministry is in the process of developing an integrated national measurement, reporting and verification system, MRV, to support the development of national climate database that include real-time data on projects being implemented, emissions, temperature changes, and climate vulnerabilities. This database will be publicly accessible to researchers, policymakers, and the public. Mr. Speaker, with regard to early warning system, the ministry is expanding the modernization and modernizing weather observation infrastructure to enhance accuracy and reliability of weather and climate information. For instance, the ministry, through the meteorological department, has installed 120 automated weather stations across the country. As part of strengthening the early warning system to all end users, the seasonal rainfall forecast is also translated in the Zambian 7 local languages, which provides information on drought and other climate risks such as floods, extreme temperatures, strong winds, pests, and diseases. Excuse me. The ministry, in collaboration with the Ministry of Agriculture, Mr. Speaker, is training extension workers or extension officers to interpret weather and climate information to enhance farmer preparedness. Mr. Speaker, on the other hand, the ministry is developing the national framework for climate services that will ensure a structured delivery of tailored climate services to the end users. In conclusion, the Ministry of Green Economy and Environment plays a central role in fostering the scientific research and innovation needed to strengthen national and global efforts to combat climate change. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I urge this House to support this report as submitted.
The Honourable Member for Wangwa wind-up debate.
Thank you very much, Honourable Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, allow me to thank all the debaters, starting from the second of the motion, my Vice Chairperson. Let me also thank Honourable Member for Nyimba, Honourable Menyan Zulu. Let me also thank Honourable Chanda, MP for Kanchibia, and also the two Honourable Ministers who have debated, Minister of Technology and Science and Minister of the Acting Minister of Green Economy. We thank you very much, Madam, especially that you've taken note of all the concerns which you have raised, in the debate, in the ratification or in this report which you've just tabled today. We thank you very much, and you know quite all right, Honourable Mr. Speaker, that climate change is real, and we are headed for a serious crisis if we don't put our brains together. Otherwise, I just want to urge all the members of Parliament to make sure not to take this message into their homes, into their respective constituencies, even to the families, to become a household discussion, because if we don't do that, definitely one of these days, and we are already aware that the crisis we are in today, it is because of the climate change which we are grappling with. Otherwise, Honourable Mr. Speaker, let me thank you for the opportunity. Thank you very much.
I put the question. The question is that this House adopts a report of Committee on Agriculture, Lands, Natural Resources on the Treaty of the Southern African Service Center for Climate Change and Adaptive Management for the 14th session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Monday, 11th November 2024. As many as of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary say no. The ayes have it. The question is resolved in the affirmative. The clerk will now read the orders of the day.
Report of the Zambian delegation to the 149th Interparliamentary Union Assembly and related meetings held in Geneva, Switzerland from 13th to 17th October 2024, motion of 15th November, resumption of debate.
When business was interrupted on Friday, 15th November 2024, the House was considering the motion moved by the Honorable Member for Kalomo Central that this House adopts a report of the Zambian delegation to the 149th Interparliamentary Union Assembly and related meetings held in Geneva, Switzerland from 13th to 17th October 2024 for the fourth session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 7th November 2024. And the Honorable Member for Kalomo Central was moving his motion. May the Honorable Member continue.
It was Naroro who was the second. I had finished myself. Thank you.
Oh. The Honorable Member for Nalolo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was referring to the conversations that happened in the Forum for Women Parliamentarians at the Interparliamentary Union in the context of science and technology. It's good that the Minister of Science is here because based on that, the conversation took into account aspects of inequality in the context of science and technology. There's no doubt, Mr. Speaker, that the participation of women in science and technology, among other things, could influence the agenda. It was also observed that a present gender imbalance in ST education, which favors boys and men, which is often the reason for the barriers that our ladies usually encourage. Mr. Speaker, in this regard, I would like to encourage my fellow parliamentarians to lobby strongly the government to ensure that young girls study science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, STEM subjects, so that more women and girls can effectively participate in decision-making processes, especially of technical nature, such as artificial intelligence. Mr. Speaker, I also took occasion to participate in the Forum of Young Parliamentarians, where aspects of capacity building were raised for young parliamentarians in the House to ensure that their debates are informed by research. Mr. Speaker, as I wind up, allow me to highlight one important issue that arose at the Assembly: the saddening conflict taking place in Israel, Lebanon, and Gaza was a major concern during the IPU deliberations. Your delegation joined many other parliamentarians in calling upon the international community within the framework of the Interparliamentary Union meetings to exert more pressure on the parties to the conflict in Israel, Lebanon, and Gaza in order to avert the spectacle of a full-scale war in the region, from which no one would escape. Mr. Speaker, you will agree with me that an escalation of the conflict in that region will greatly disrupt, among other things, the flow of oil from the Mediterranean and the Arabian Gulf to Europe, and the deterioration of the global economy that will eventually affect everyone. It is my prayer that as parliamentarians, we urge everyone to respect and ensure respect for international humanitarian law, which has been agreed by all nations to be bound. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, let me remind my colleagues that technology can undermine human rights and aggravate inequality if used improperly or maliciously. For this reason, we parliamentarians have a crucial role to play in promoting safe and a non-discriminatory environment for all. This includes a safe online environment to prevent harassment, bullying, cybercrime, particularly when it is gender-based. Mr. Speaker, I beg to second.
Any further debate? Any further debate? Any further debate? The Honourable Member for Kalomo, wind-up debate. Kalomo Central wind-up debate.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. May I also thank the honourable members. I think the report is very straightforward. It was discussing issues that are very straightforward. May I thank you and also the National Assembly workers and all those that were involved. Thank you very much.
I put the question. The question is that this House adopts a report of the Zambian delegation to the 149th Interparliamentary Union and related meetings held in Geneva, Switzerland from 13th to 17th October 2024 for the third session of the 13th National Assembly laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 7th November. As many as of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary, say no. The ayes have it. The question is resolved in the affirmative. Next order.
Supply motion of 5th November, resumption of debate.
When the House was adjourned on Thursday, 14th November 2024, the House was considering the motion moved by the Honourable Minister of Finance and National Planning that the House now do resolve into Committee of Supply on the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the year 1st January 2025 to 31st December 2025, presented to the National Assembly in September 2024. Any further debate? The Honourable Member for Kanyama.
Ministers. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity that you have given me to say a word or two to the motion. Mr. Speaker, I just want to look at the Minister of Justice on the allocation of the budget, and in particular, I want to look at an institution which I feel Kanyama people and those other people who are living within the places like Kanyama would benefit. I'm looking at the legal aid board, and from one set, I want to thank the government for having allocated some funds for that institution to move on. Mr. Speaker, you may wish to take note that this institution is heavily mandated. Mandated in the sense that from the act that brought it up and few other statutes mandates this institution so heavy to the point that if it is not adequately funded, I think the institution may not perform to its mandate. Mr. Speaker, you realize that this institution provides legal services to persons whose means are inadequate, people of Kanyama and few other places. People of Kanyama, Mr. Speaker, benefits from this institution in a sense that each time they find themselves in conflict with the law, they would rush to that institution. And it's the only institution that is mandated to provide such a service. Mr. Speaker, not only the people who give it pressure, but also last year or the other year, we enacted an act on the Children's Code Act, which actually mandates this institution to ensure that any child who is in conflict with the law is represented. And not only that, the same statute, Mr. Speaker, demands that wherever there's a child who is in conflict with the law is brought before the court, that service, legal aid, must be provided. Now, looking at that, as we are talking now, this institution may seem to have some challenges ranging from infrastructure. It does not have good infrastructure that would do, that it will use to attend to legal aid, to the vulnerable people. The other challenge that seem to be, hitting this institution, it is lack of advocates. The other one you're looking at is not fully represented in all the districts. There are few districts that this institution is present. Now, if the situation is like that, then it means the concept of a just and accountable judiciary which guarantees justice for all may not be achieved. So it is to this effect that I would want to encourage the government to see how best, though it has done quite a lot, but more can be done. To see how best it can try and vary some sections within the ministry so that certain funds can go towards this institution. The other alternative that I would encourage the government is, as we are looking at the supplementary budget, I think I'm of a conservative view that this institution will be considered. I think with those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I wish to support the budget. Thank you.
The Minister, the Honorable Minister of Fisheries and Livestock.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I wish to thank you for according me this opportunity to add my voice to this debate on the motion of supply, general policy debate, moved on Wednesday, 5th November 2024 by my elder brother, Honorable Dr. September Kom Sokotwane, MP, Minister of Finance and National Planning. Allow me to take this opportunity to congratulate the Minister on his well-delivered 2025 budget speech that outlined the key interventions that the new Dawn administration will be implementing. Let me also thank the chairperson of the Committee on Agriculture, Lands and Natural Resources and all our stakeholders that made contributions to the sector policy analysis on head 86. Ministry of Fisheries and Livestock when it was tabled before the committee. Mr. Speaker, may I also join hands with others in thanking the chairperson of the expanded Planning and Budgeting Committee for the hard work put in by his committee to review all the heads of expenditure and come up with the observations and recommendations in the report we are now considering. Indeed, we have taken note of the observations and recommendations from the committee. Mr. Speaker, the budget speech issued by the Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning was the fourth budget speech that the UPND government has presented to this House. In this speech, the Minister pointed out that our country was hard hit by the drought which was caused by the El Nino weather conditions. Members may wish to note that Zambia was the country that was hardest hit in Southern Africa, and my ministry, together with agriculture, were at the epicenter of the adverse impact of this drought. This climate change notwithstanding, it is evident in the content of this year's budget that the new government continues to pursue a progressive and strategic direction that will manifest in positive dividends for the people of Zambia. It is also evident in the government's prompt and precise response to drought that we have a working government that places the interest of the Zambian first. Through our response, we have ensured that nobody dies of hunger. Mr. Speaker, in addressing the impact of the unprecedented drought on the fishery and livestock subsector, my ministry realigned its budget in 2024 to address effects of the drought. Under livestock development, we focused on disease control and prevention and targeted diseases such as anthrax, contagious bovine pneumonia, foot and mouth, among others. As a result of the interventions put in place, such as intensified vaccination campaigns, as well as heightened surveillance and sensitization programs, outbreaks were averted, and this resulted in reduced incidences of diseases despite the severe effect of the drought. My ministry also heightened sensitization in good livestock production and animal husbandry practices to improve the health and nutrition of the animals. Procurement, distribution of pasture and rangeland seed was key among other interventions to improve animal nutrition. In fisheries, our focus was on promotion of sustainable fisheries, and we worked with the communities in establishing community-based fish management areas to support and enforce sustainable fishing practices. These interventions, Mr. Speaker, ensure that we avert a disaster in our two subsectors, and that's what a responsible and proactive government does. Mr. Speaker, going forward and into 2025, my ministry is not only looking to support the subsectors in order to augment the gains recorded thus far, but is also working to build resilience for the future. Noting the recommendation from the Expanded Planning and Budgeting Committee that most of the annual budget for our portfolio ministry did not mainstream climate change mitigation and adoption measures, such as construction of dams, I wish to assure the House that this has indeed been our focus as government, and we have planned a number of interventions to build resilience. Mr. Speaker, using a multi-sectoral approach and our one government policy approach, we have planned for the construction of dams as part of our water harvesting initiatives, and has been working closely with the Ministry of Water Development and Sanitation, as well as the Ministry of Green Economy and Environment. For instance, priority has been given to rehabilitating the dam of Mochi Papa in Southern Province, and a total allocation of 7.5 million kwacha has been provided. My ministry has also provided a total of 58 million kwacha for rangeland management and pasture production. The focus is to rehabilitate degraded rangelands through oversowing and enhance pasture production through irrigation. Mr. Speaker, to build resilience in disease control and management, The ministry is domesticating the production of all the key vaccines affecting diseases of national economic importance. In this regard, government has set aside 200 million kwacha for the construction of a new viral vaccine plant that will augment the existing facilities at Central Veterinary Research Institute, CVRI. Further, we are repealing our registration, refocusing our policies and rearranging our programs to mainstream climate change mitigation and adaptation initiatives. Some of the programs we will undertake in this aspect include: 1. Development of the Livestock Development Bill; 2. Review of the Fisheries Act No. 22 of 2011 and the Animal Health Act No. 27 of 2010, as well as reviewing the National Livestock Development Policy. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The acting leader of government business adjournment.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the House do now adjourn.
The question is that the House do now adjourn. Any debate, any objection? The question is agreed to. The House? Is now adjourned.
Good evening. There you have it. This marks the end of today's parliamentary proceedings, today Tuesday, 19th November 2024. And like always, we'll have a recap of what has been considered on the floor of the House starting at 14:30 hours.
We had quite a number of announcements, starting with one announcement where the Honorable Madam Speaker informed the House that she had received communication to the effect that in the absence of her Honour, the Vice President, who is attending to other government business, the Minister of Finance and National Planning, Honorable Dr. Stumbe Komsokotwani, MP, had been appointed to act as leader of government business in the House from today, Tuesday, 19th November, until 31st.
In the other announcement, Madam Speaker did say that debate on the motion of supply will be concluded tomorrow, Wednesday, and thereafter the House will resolve into Committee of Supply to consider individual heads of expenditure. Consideration of the individual heads of expenditure will commence on Thursday, 21st November 2024. So in accordance with Standing Order 171-2, the Vice President or the relevant minister shall only present the head total of a head of expenditure for approval by the House. There shall be no policy debate at this stage, and this means that debate at this stage shall be restricted to clarifications on the figure allocated to a head. These clarifications shall be restricted to not more than one member from each political grouping represented in the House as provided for by Standing Order 171-4. In consideration of the heads of expenditure shall be concluded within 5 sitting days as provided for by Standing Order 171-9.
And in another news, and pupils from Aurora Christian Academy in Lusaka District.
So those were the announcements that were made by Madam Speaker earlier in the afternoon, and after that Madam Speaker went on to deliver a ruling on a point of order raised on Tuesday, 15th October 2024 by Dr. C. Andeleki, Member of Parliament for Katombora constituency, on the status of Mr. J. Banda, Member of Parliament for Petaruka Central Parliamentary constituency, following his absence from the House after his disappearance from Chipata Central Hospital.
And the point of order was premised on Article 72(2)(c) Constitution of Zambia, Chapter 1 of the Laws of Zambia, for the vacation of office as Member of Parliament where a member acts contrary to a prescribed code of conduct.
And so in the point of order, Mr. Ndeleki stated that Mr. J.E. Banda, Member of Parliament for Petarika Central constituency, did disappear from Chipata Central Hospital on Thursday, 20th June 2024, following his charge of aggravated robbery and attempted murder. In his regard, Dr. C. Ndeleki MP inquired whether Mr. J.E. Banda MP was still a Member of Parliament within the definition of Section 2 of the National Assembly Powers and Privileges Act, Chapter 12 of the Laws of Zambia, given that he had not appeared in the House since 20th June 2024.
And the Honourable Madam First Deputy Speaker rendered a ruling on Tuesday, 5th November 2024, wherein she referred the matter to the Committee on Privileges and Absences for determination and for the committee to make appropriate recommendations by Friday, 15th November 2025. This decision was premised on Standing Order 223-1 of the National Assembly of Zambia, Standing Orders 2024, on a member's failure to attend sittings, which provide that 223-1, if during a session a member is absent for 4 or more consecutive sittings of the Assembly without permission in writing from the Government Chief Whip or the Speaker, the matter shall stand referred to the Committee on Privileges and Absences for hearing and determination.
And so therefore, in line with the parliamentary practice and procedure, and in accordance with the rules of natural justice, on Wednesday, 6 November 2024, the Office of the Clerk wrote to Honorable J.J. Mwimbu MP, Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security, and Honorable S. Mulusai MP, Government Chief Whip, to state what they know about the absence of Mr. J.E. Banda MP since Thursday, 20th June 2024.
Additionally, on Monday, 11th November 2024, the Office of the Clerk wrote to Dr. C. Ndeleki to ask him what he knows about Mr. J.E. Banda MP's absence. However, Mr. J.E. Banda MP was not written to since his whereabouts were unknown. He added that on Thursday, 1st August 2024, Mr. J.E. Banda fell ill and was taken to Chipata Central Hospital for treatment, and subsequently 3 correctional service officers and 2 Zambia police officers were assigned to guard him. However, on Sunday, 4th August 2024, between 21 hours and 22 hours, Mr. J.E. Banda MP escaped through a hospital window despite being under a 5 officer guard team. Mr. J.J. Mwimbu MP explained that this occurred when Mr. J.E. Banda MP's wife requested privacy for him to undergo a routine treatment for his ailment.
And so, Madam Speaker did say that Article 77(1) of the Constitution confers on the National Assembly the power to regulate its own procedure and make standing orders for the conduct of its business. That's subject to this article. Article 78, the National Assembly shall regulate its own procedure and make standing orders for the conduct of its business. So additionally, Article 72(2)(c) of the Constitution provides as follows: the office of a member becomes vacant if the member acts contrary to a prescribed code of conduct. And further, Standing Order 243 of the National Assembly of Zambia, Standing Orders 2024, requires members to seek permission to be absent from the House.
And in addition, Standing Order 223 of the National Assembly of Zambia, Standing Orders 2024, on a member's failure to attend sittings and to attend sittings. And the committee met on Wednesday, 13th November 2024, to deliberate on this matter, and the 3 witnesses, namely Honorable J.J. Mwimbu MP, Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security, Mr. S. Mulusa MP, Government Chief Whip, and Dr. C. Ndeleki MP appeared before the committee to make submissions.
All right, and so in view of the foregoing and in line with parliamentary practice and procedure and in accordance with the rules of natural justice, the committee unanimously resolved to recommend that Mr. J.E. Banda MP be given 7 days within which to attend the business of the House, failing which Madam Speaker's office will evoke Article 72(8) of the Constitution by informing the Electoral Commission of Zambia of the occurrence of a vacancy in the Petauke Central Parliamentary seat. That's a brief of the ruling that was made by Madam Speaker.
And after that ruling, there were two ministerial statements that were rendered on the floor, and one of the statements was rendered by the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, Honorable Gary, on the reduced number of cash for work beneficiaries in Kalabo district. And in this statement, the Honorable Minister did inform the House that the cash for work program has a total number of 500,000 beneficiaries across the 123 constituencies that were affected by the drought during the previous rain season of 2023-2024, and that these beneficiaries are supposed to work for a period of 10 days every month and then receive a payment of 600 kwacha each.
And so the minister did say that the Cash for Work program commenced in September this year, and so far it has been implemented for 2 months, and in these 2 months, when the program has been running, the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development has disbursed a total amount of 600 million to all the 123 constituencies.
The minister went on to inform the House that Kalabo district has received a total of 4,661 beneficiaries, of which 3,059 beneficiaries are under Kalabo Central constituency, whilst 1,602 are under Liwa constituency. He said that since the commencement of the program, the ministry has disbursed a total amount of 5,533,000 for the two constituencies for the months of September and October, and that these funds are sufficient for all the 4,661 beneficiaries for the 2 months period.
He went on to say that there's no reduction in the number of beneficiaries either for the two constituencies in Kalabo or indeed any other. And on the issue of payments, the situation remains as reported to the House that on 1st November 2024, the mode of payment to the beneficiaries under the program is through the banks via mobile money transfer using available mobile network providers. And he did say that his ministry has actually engaged banks and mobile service providers to provide cash in transit services in areas where there is no mobile network signals.
And after that statement, the House went on to consider another statement that was rendered by the Minister of Agriculture, Honorable Mtolo Piri, and he updated the House on the distribution of farming inputs countrywide. And in this statement, the Minister did inform the House that the government, through the Ministry of Agriculture, has implemented the Farmer Input Support Program since 2002 with the aim of providing subsidized inputs to small-scale farmers, and this is in order to ensure food and income security at household level.
And he did say that in the 2024-2025 farming season under this modality, government has procured 42,775.20 metric tons of compound D and 42,775.20 metric tons of urea at an estimated cost of 71.8 million United States dollars. 2 suppliers were contracted to supply and deliver compound D, while 11 suppliers were contracted to supply and deliver urea fertilizer.
And the minister went on to say that as at 18th November 2024, all the procured 42,775.20 metric tons of D compound had been delivered, representing 100%, whilst out of the procured 42,775.20 metric tons of urea, 42,235 metric tons had been delivered, representing 98.74%.
He did say that government is working tirelessly to enhance the farmers' preparedness for the farming season by ensuring that farmers have access to essential inputs. In this regard, government through the Treasury has released a total of 2.2 billion kwacha out of the expected 6.2 billion kwacha to pay the agro dealers for the delivery of farming inputs, leaving a balance of 4 billion kwacha.
He went on to say that farmer tagging commenced on 2nd September 2024, and as at 18th November 2024, 1,006,000 metric ton, 1,006,000 farmers had been verified and tagged out of the 1,024,000, representing 98.21%. And additionally, as at 18th November 2024, a total of 914,902 farmers have deposited, while 7,055 farmers had redeemed or collected their input, translating to 228,256 farmers that redeemed their inputs in the direct input out of the 252,946 farmers that deposited, representing 90.34%.
So the Minister of Agriculture did say that some of the farmers, that he's aware that some of the farmers were affected as their numbers did not correspond with their names during the verification exercise. Therefore, he is requesting all the farmers whose numbers are appearing as invalid or incorrect to verify and update their phone numbers or obtain new phone numbers which are registered in their names, and immediately notify the district agricultural coordinators, officers through agriculture camp extension officers.
And so that was the ministerial statement that was rendered by the Minister of Agriculture to update the nation on the distribution of farming inputs for the farming season 2024-2025. And after that, the House went on to consider question for oral answer, and today we had a question for oral answer under Standing Order 82, and this question came from Chairman North Member of Parliament, Mr. Mutaya Chalo, and he directed his question to Her Honor the Vice President. In this case, we had the acting leader of government business, Dr. Msokotwani, and in response to this question that was posed by the Member of Parliament for Chairman North, who wanted to know whether government is aware that heavy rains on Wednesday 6 November 2024 damaged several houses and public infrastructure in some townships and villages in Chairman North Parliamentary constituency, the Minister responded to the House that to determine the extent of the damage that have been caused by the heavy rains, government through the DMMU had actually undertaken a rapid assessment in Chama constituency, and that it was discovered that 38 households were damaged by the heavy rains. And the second part of the question, what measures are being taken to assist the affected farmers? The Minister informed the House that the government through DMMU had assisted the farmers by supplying tents, dignity kits, foodstuffs which included beans, salt, sugar, blankets, Vaseline, and amongst others.
So that's the only question for oral answer under Standing Order number 82 that was considered this afternoon. And thereafter we did see Mr. Michelo of Wengwa move a motion that was seconded by Mfue MP Ms. Maureen Mawonga, urging the House to adopt the reports of the Committee on Agriculture, Lands and Natural Resources on the Treaty of the Southern African Science Service Center for Climate Change and Adaptive Land Management for the fourth session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Monday 11th November 2024, and this report has since been adopted.
The House also resumed debate on the report presented by Kalomo Central Member of Parliament, Mr. Harry Kambone, and this is a report of the Zambian delegation to the 149th IPU Assembly held in Geneva, Switzerland, from 13th to 17th October 2024, and this motion was seconded by Nalolo Member of Parliament, Mr. Imanga Wamunyima, and the report has also been adopted by the House.
We also had resumption of debate on the supply motion on the estimates of revenue and expenditure for the year 1st January 2025 to 31st December 2025. And earlier, Madam Speaker actually did make an announcement that debate on this motion actually does come to an end tomorrow. And so that's the business that was considered on the floor of the House today, Pauline.
Yes, so we come to the end of our live broadcast for today, and we hope that you enjoyed everything that we had for you today. Join us again tomorrow at the same time. For now, wish you a lovely evening.